We have listened to the wisdom in an old Russian maxim. Though my pronunciation may give you difficulty, the maxim is, doverye no proverye, trust but verify.
Trust is something that has remained important throughout civilization, whether it's as simple as trusting a friend with a small secret, to something more important, like trusting a politician with a seat of power over an entire nation. It's important to know that trust is key. For China, trust is something that is important, but most certainly not easily earned. It goes as far back as the Cultural Revolution, where families would turn on each other for a chance to ascend the social hierarchy. But this means that in Chinese culture, citizens automatically distrust one another. For those in China, business is conducted only after trust has been earned. And this often means that business goes slow and deals take ages. So how does one build trust? Financially, it's pretty obvious. You look at a numerical score built off of carefully compiled credit reports by banks and credit companies alike. You look at a credit score. So China took this concept of the credit score, and they revamped it for their own needs, resulting in the infamous social credit system. The system is exactly what China needs right now. In an era where distrust runs rampant in society, what better way to establish trust than by having a trustworthiness score? From there, you can separate the trustworthy from the untrustworthy, build relationships and conduct business without the fear of betrayal, and most importantly, reunite China. But the social credit system raises a lot of questions and concerns. How does it function? Is it the next step to a mass surveillance system? How will it impact China's socioeconomic status? How is it different from the FICO credit system? And should the US switch to it? To answer these questions, we must explore several aspects of the system. Contrary to popular belief, the social credit system does not function solely off of a numerical score that is used to reward and punish others. Misinformation spread by news networks such as PragerU have led to these misconceptions, which only really hurt the effectiveness of the system and our ability to properly critique the system. In reality, the social credit system is split into 4 different sections, these being business, government, social, and judiciary. While each system is unique, they each follow some base rules. One rule enforced by the Chinese government is that there should be no punishment for a low social credit score. This means that a business that barely abides by the regulations put in place will not be negatively affected. Instead, those who perform to government standards will be rewarded in various ways. It functions similar to a loyalty program seen in airlines and such. However, punishment still is an option, but only for those who have violated specific laws or codes. Based on the severity and the number of offenses, these individuals and businesses can be added to blacklists. The business trustworthiness system, regulated by the People's Bank of China, helps to combat corruption in the Chinese market and regulate business and trade. This is extremely important to help improve China as a whole through a domino effect. By tightly regulating companies with a social credit system, it serves to help mitigate businesses from resorting to unsafe practices to increase profit. They do this through tracking products, cracking down on counterfeit goods, and further enforcing the law when it comes to business practices. The government trustworthiness system serves to target, as the name states, the government. Primarily targeting local governments, the social credit system tracks their budgets, debts, and contracts, and strong performance provides those same local governments with stronger benefits, all from the central government. The social trustworthiness system is the one that most tend to focus on, and for good reason. The system is used to track the social credit of individuals. The system tracks financial and social behavior of individuals, however, not to the level that Western media makes it out to be. The system is relatively low-tech, and much of the information contributed to the system comes from reports from hotels, blood donation facilities, banks, courts, and social media websites. The system encourages good behavior such as charity, which adds to one's social credit score and provide benefits. On the other hand, illegal activity can cause citizens to be added to blacklists, which make it difficult to get loans or board public transportation. However, to contrary belief, the social credit score is not deducted for activities such as criticizing the government, playing video games, or other less morally upstanding activities. These are frowned upon by the government, but it doesn't serve to lower one's score as those really aren't illegal. The judiciary trustworthiness system is the blacklist system used for individuals and how the government helps to uphold the system. Regulated by the Supreme People's Court, the system is the record of the people who have violated too many laws or held too much debt. It's essentially a streamlined version of the background check boiled down to a number. The blacklist is now even used for registering for schools, job employment, and other things in the cities that use it. Despite all the backlash from the West, the social credit system could be said to be little more than an expansion to the credit scoring system in the United States. In the US, consumers' credit scores are calculated based off of their past credit history, current financial status, occupation, and housing situation. The Chinese social credit system differs by expanding to include aspects such as charity, volunteering, and donating blood as factors to determine the score. Aspects that can lower one's social credit score, meanwhile, are expanded beyond the amount of debt and credit to how lawful a citizen is. Those with good credit are even rewarded with prioritized healthcare, provisions, and waiving deposits to rent public housing, while credit rewards in the US are limited to how good the condition is for a loan. The expansion of the social credit system also includes businesses and corporations, which are treated similarly to individuals in the United States credit score system. In the Chinese social credit system, businesses, in addition to their own operations, are asked to submit information about their partners and suppliers to local and national authorities. Bad behavior, low trustworthiness, and ratings from suppliers and consumers will also influence a company's own credit score, influencing them to work with more trustworthy companies in order to avoid damaging their own credit scores. For companies, their credit score truly is as important as a good score will give them access to tax rebates and subsidies, while bad scores force them to face higher inspection rates and targeted audits, as well as restrictions in government approvals of land. In addition, the social credit system encompasses local governments, who are also required to submit information, including their finances, to the centralized system. According to Chinese court rules, local governments are deemed untrustworthy if they have failed to pay contractors on time or have fabricated data. Government officials, in such cases, are then prevented from buying tickets above economy class on flights, trains, and ferries. They are also prohibited from racking up large bills at high-end hotels, nightclubs, and golf courses, as well as from buying or renovating property. This is in stark contrast to the American system, where government officials have little recourse against such actions, beyond potentially losing their next election. Despite all the fear and the worry behind the system, the social credit system doesn't actually exist. Yet. While the system has been created, it's still very much a work in progress for the Chinese government. But that doesn't mean we don't have data on the system and its impacts. It's been used in around 40 different trial cities, and with this many trials, we can observe some of the universal impacts the system has had. Surprisingly, a study by Jinia Kotska has noted that the social credit system is pretty well received by the general public in China. The social credit system gives citizens more of an ease in trusting others, a feeling of control over the impact of their actions, and it gives the poor and the honest a chance to move up in the world with their businesses. The system was designed with Chinese culture in mind, and it makes sense that the system would fit so well with the citizens. But no system is perfect, and the social credit system contains many flaws. In some pilot cities like Suining, state media has compared it to a system used during the Japanese invasion of China, the Good Citizen card. Others have considered the measurement of moral behavior impossible and a tactic to control the people. They argue that the system should be used to measure legal and contractual violations, rather than moral ones as a way to prevent the government from gaining too much power through the system. And of course, the largest concern of all is safety and privacy for citizens and businesses alike. Western media has considered the system to be an extension of state surveillance and a total violation of rights. And while there is surveillance involved in the social credit system, it is not to the extent that the media makes it out to be. Surveillance is used in situations like jaywalking or running red lights and speeding. The system is relatively low-tech, and as such, it remains difficult to even keep tabs on all citizens at all times of the day. Rather, surveillance is used as a way to catch those who have violated the law. Nothing else. So would the social credit system be a good fit to the United States? Probably not. As stated before, the social credit system was made with Chinese culture in mind, not the United States, and it really does boil down to cultural ideas. The United States is rooted in individualism. In the US, it's your success, your failure, your job, your life. There is an emphasis on the individual, as the word individualism states, and with that comes the ideals of transparency and freedom, the freedom of independence, to bear arms, to privacy. And the social credit system impedes on that much more than the current system in place. On the other hand, China is more united under Confucius ideals. So everything is for the betterment of society and for the family. Combine this with this air of distrust in China, and the system makes sense. In China, there was this desire for harmony in relationships, and so things like public shaming due to low social credit makes sense. Whereas in the United States, it seems ludicrous and dystopian. It comes back to this cultural divide. And while the two countries do share a lot of similar aspects in their credit systems, the idea of the social credit system may prove to be too extreme to even consider implementing anytime soon. While riddled with flaws, it has to be acknowledged that the social credit system is still in its infancy and has plenty of room to grow. But it's been a huge step forward in reestablishing trust among Chinese citizens. As for the question of whether the United States should adopt the system, the answer is a speculative no. The idea of constantly being monitored and tracked throughout our daily lives, even as little as at a set of traffic lights, is still too abrasive an idea for American culture. The restrictions on travel and schooling for being on the blacklist would surely cause an uproar among the population. Ironically, there are already systems in place that prevent citizens from finding jobs, schools, or even flights, and there are systems in place that monitor every crime they've committed. So it could be said that we're already having the social credit system in place, covered by a thin veil of freedom.